Ayubowan, and a very good morning or very good afternoon to those who are logging in from wherever they are across the globe. We have with us today Ms. Dilmi Mahadurage, whom we have been interviewing in the last several weeks on various topics. She is special because we have invited her because of her experience, which showed her what the true nature of life is. And she is now trying to share it with everyone because after all, everyone is seeking a way out of suffering. If I may quote Lord Buddha, he said, I teach only one thing, suffering and way out of suffering. So in the light of that, we would like to start this discussion with Ms. Dilmi. And my first question is, Dilmi, now, can you elaborate the difference between an awakened person or enlightened person and unenlightened person?
Yeah. So honestly speaking, Dr. Vipula, yes, there could be a difference. But as far as I see it, there's no difference because what I see is another person can see it, yet it's just that I have recognized the true nature. But in reality, how can you ever detach from who you are? You are that the whole time. You know, even when I recognized it at the time, I realized, my goodness, this was the case the whole time, the entire time. It just, I didn't see it. The reason is because it's just so simple and it's just so obvious. You know, for example, we would never want to question the obvious things. That's why a last session, some few sessions before, I said, start question even the obvious. You know, because when something is very obvious, that's why the fish cannot recognize water if they ever go on a search, because it's already the case. You know, it's already the case. It's already with it entire time, unless it just jumps up and see, oh, okay. You know, you get what I'm saying? So just like that, the person who's awakened has recognized the true nature of things, and a person who is not awakened, it's again separation right there. Like awakened means to see that unity of consciousness, you know, to see that connectedness of everything. And in reality, there's no separation. So seeing that true nature, recognizing that is, let's say, awakened person. And in reality, there's no one who is claiming to be if Dilmi was there in the time of the awakening, then it's impossible for someone to go through that awakening, you know. Like here, because it's not Dilmi's experience, it's like even the experience collapsed, and it just became the unity. You know, just the recognition. That's what I see, yeah. But you are that the whole time, each moment, every time, just like the fish and the water. Yeah.
The reason why I wanted you to elaborate that, because our topic today is how an enlightened person or an awakened person sees the world, or how an enlightened person deals with day-to-day mundane life which has a lot of intricacies, conflicts, misunderstanding. How an awakened person reacts and deals with them. So that's the topic that we would like to discuss today. So now my second question is, thank you for that description of being awakened. Now, the second question is that when you say an awakened person with that recognition that everything is one and there is no separation. Now, academically, people will understand. They'll say, yeah, that's true. Now, a tree cannot grow without water. And then, the water has to come from somewhere. So everything is connected. I mean, we need oxygen. And an eagle needs the blowing, to glide. So you can give million examples. So everything is connected. But that is more of academic knowledge. And how would you, now before I get into the real question, how would you describe that oneness or the one united consciousness? Just give one or two examples, then we can, our audience can understand.
Yeah, so this unity consciousness, Dr. Vipula, the best way I can share is through some experience, So what I would ask you is like who you are before your parents born.
Okay.
Before. So you can be with it.
Mm-hmm. Who you are before your parents were born.
And when you when I say that and when it stops, you could feel there's some spaciousness. Yes. Because your mind stops, because your mind cannot take it. Mind cannot really elaborate or just like to make sense out of it. For a moment it stops. And then that's there. If you stay with it, like once I say it and then now we stay with it for a moment. Let's give it a moment. That's the only way that I can possibly share this more. I mean, sometimes I feel like rather than telling in words, giving it with more experience would be much, much better. Yeah.
So my understanding for that is it's more of another, to answer your question, who you are before your parents were born, and then you will call and look for the answer, and it looks like you cannot respond because probably the mind cannot get there.
Yes.
And it's not stated in scriptures, nor is it stated in, of course, in philosophy, you might, Hinduism or something, you might say, okay, you would have been in some other world and then, you were living in another life, and then, and you were reborn, something like that. But then it's a vague answer, isn't it?
What, doctor?
What am I saying is that to answer your question, who you were before your parents were born, and according to the literature, someone might quote Hinduism and say, well, you would have been in another realm somewhere,
Yeah, exactly. But that's not the case. This is like a place where this is just a moment where your mind cannot really get an answer, so the mind simply stops. Yeah. If you go into that, then again, you have enough things to crunch. And go on. More food for the mind. Yeah.
And I remember in one of your discussions you said, when were that's right. When were your parents born? I think you asked a question something like that, which is similar to this.
Yeah, I can't really remember.
Yeah, okay. So I think that is giving more or less the same answer, because when were your parents born? from the person's point of view, and if you are a little analytical, you would say after we were born, because the identification came in later on. Anyway, so now when you say you are an awakened person and then you see everything differently, there is this question how you would do a profession, how you would make a career, and how you would, because you see everything differently, and probably you will have a lot of altruism towards people. But in our, take the corporate world, it's like, profit oriented, it's more selfish driven kind of agendas the corporates have. Now, if you were to work in an organization, a leading conglomerate, how would you now, reconcile your and reconcile that your position, your newly found position, and this the common belief of the people?
Yeah. So if I'm to go and work in a place.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
So,
if you have to work in a place, how would how would you deal? Because working atmosphere, it's a competition. You need to be ahead of others.
Yes. So, Dr. Vipula, like, honestly speaking, like the competition is within you, and at the same time, like there's a saying that I remember this quote, like, someone was asking from someone, like, what happened before the awakening and what happened after the awakening, and it says, like, well, before the awakening, I just fetched water and I cooked in home, and I chopped wood, and then said the person asked, okay, that's right. And like, what happened after the awakening? And he says the same thing, like, I cooked, I chopped wood, and I fetched water. So you could see there's no difference. Just like that, the activities are the same, but the way you do it, there's a difference, Yes, like I was honestly, like, I mean, in a context of a corporate job or like any other place, like I was in a hurry all the time in my life. Like I was in such a hurry. Like, honestly speaking, I didn't have time to even look at a flower, because I was in such a hurry. Like, let me tell you one example how much I was in a hurry. Like, I had a friend who is like deaf. Like, we used to, like, when I think we were like 14 years old or something. Like, I'm just sharing how much in a hurry I was. Like, this is things that I got from my people around, So I remember we were in Thailand, and me and her, and we just came to the bus, and we had this picture collection where you need to stack it up together at one, like a postcard thing, which has to be. And I remember I took that postcard thing, and I just put it like that, and I kept it. And then the deaf girl was with me. She just took it and made it in a one after one, which is with a very much patience. And I was like, okay. Like I was that person, so in a hurry all the time. I don't know, like and that hurriness, it just disappeared because once you recognize that you are that the whole time, whatever you are seeking is who you are. Where there's nowhere to go other than right here. and that resistance to things that I was doing. And there, I mean, I had so much resistance, Dr. Vipula. Let me tell you that, like I was resistant to my parents or the people around me and the country, and I can go on like telling like about all the things that I was resistant. So just like going at a workplace. Yeah, I mean, I already worked in workplaces, so I had so much resistance, and also I was in a, and that disappeared, that disappeared, that resistance to things, and in that hurriness, like, oh my God, because I realized I want to go somewhere. That's why that like I didn't want to like doing something so mundane, like, like honestly speaking. Like I'm just sharing my experience, like even the cooking, so-called cooking, I never learned cooking until after because I didn't take it as something important that I need to learn. I thought like, oh no, my time is so valuable. Why would I just waste my time learning cooking? That, I mean, imagine that, like the way how much I was in a hurry. Like I didn't even pay attention. I mean, uh, maybe arrogance too, like I wanted to do things, important things, you know, like, but now, like, I can see that the very, even the slightest things are like the important thing, because like whenever you are doing something, let's say these wires, like this, like, like you do the most, uh, like, let's say that you do the most, like, let's say something like in the cooking, you just do it with patience. That could be a place where you can recognize your true nature. So nothing is not important. Everything is important, because like I could say, and also like another thing that was different was I was totally involved with whatever I was doing. And each thing that I was doing, and there was a completion, you know. And I was not doing incompleted like in the past. I remember like everything was incomplete, and I go to the next, and all these things were running. And here I just take time, and I fully involved in that thing, and then I complete it, and I go to the next thing. So yeah.
That's a good advice to, especially for our younger generation. Everything that you do is having something to be reckoned with. It's not that this is less important, the other one is more important. Everything is important, and taking your time for that. I think that's a good advice. Not necessarily for spiritual seekers, but also for those who are going through a lot of stress, anxieties, in your work. And somehow this has been the case in the last 2 decades or so, the corporate world especially, and politics. It's a stiff competition, fierce battle, whatever you do. But at the end, if you look at...
Doctor, I will take one example, because I can see that
Sure,
here.
go ahead.
So, for example, like this could never come from a girl from Dilmi in the past, like that would never happen something like this in the past, because I was in such a hurry, like all the time, So yeah.
Absolutely, and there is order, and there's a way of... I mean, I love to call it altruism. Everything you touch, everything you see, there is kind of a harmony. Yes, it's a nice way of describing. Now, if I ask you, do you get angry, or do you get stressed out, and or do you react to situations where you are kind of not happy about?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, this question I always get, like, do you have any emotions? basically that's it, you know. And to be very honest, Dr. Vipula, let me tell you, this is like I'm being very vulnerable and sharing with you that, like, the honesty. I got the most anger after the awakening that I've never experienced. And let me tell you, I couldn't even understand. But one time I'm telling you, like, but let me tell you, like I remember after the awakening, I for one particular event, I got anger in a particular situation where there was some injustice and I had to talk it through. And at the time, I recognized something very interesting, you know, and that anger had such a pure energy, you know, whereas same anger in the past, you know, I had so much control and manipulation in that particular situation. I don't know how to explain this. I hope you understand. I remember when I got the anger and I just could recognize and I could see that when I was started trembling because the energy was so intense, you know. And at the time after that, I saw how pure the anger was there. It's like in the past, how I get angry also like in a way that, oh, I should not share this, then I would not get from the person what I want. So I need to just control my anger and manipulate the situation in a way that like I get the serve, you know, I get so even that I felt like the anger that I had in the past is so manipulated. And so like in a place at that time, the anger that I was like, even if I died, I didn't care at the time, you know. There was no control whatsoever.
Yes, Dilmi, now this anger that you described, the natural reaction, which might have a connotation where one might interpret as anger, but that anger is, as long as it is a genuine response to a situation,
Yeah.
and because someone has to correct the situation.
Yes.
See, the situation
Yes.
needs to be corrected. So therefore, that anger is always justifiable. Now, for example, if I am attacked by...
I can also tell you the difference between my previous anger and that anger that I
yeah, go ahead.
experienced.
Yeah, that will help.
So, Doctor, one difference I've noticed is at that time I had so much manipulation. I was thinking, okay, from this person, if I talk this way with this anger, I wouldn't get what I need from this person. Oh, okay, so I should talk to this. No, I can't. I need to like you know, like so. I could see that manipulation part wasn't there in this anger. It was pure energy. Even if I die at that particular moment, I mean, I mean, it could be an exaggeration, but that's how I felt at the time. Even if someone just did something violent, you know, I would still just wouldn't really. I would do what I need to do at the time, you know. So I didn't really care even if I die at that particular moment. So there was such a pure energy that nothing but energy, you know. And then there was one difference that I could clearly see. And yes, yeah. There was no manipulator wasn't there like to make it to the way that please other people and do it. There was nothing like that. I was just wanting to like make justice for the situation. And another part wasn't there. Like after, like in the past, when I get angry, I was like repenting. Oh, I shouldn't have. Like go on, you know, like it's just nothing but repenting. But here, that part again wasn't there. Like in this particular moment, I was like, that's exactly what I needed to do at that time. There's no exception whatsoever. That's another difference. Yeah.
I believe that makes a lot of sense. Now, say, for example,
it might not make sense, like for people, someone who is listening, but like, why would you, someone like, that it wouldn't make sense to everyone. I don't think so yet. Yeah, but that I like the emotions are there, just like you asked, like,
Yeah, whether you have emotions. But then coming back to the same question now, say I get
specifically you ask about the anger.
yeah,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
I ask anger because I react to someone, and sometimes I may not react. Now, if you look at the situation in office, you might not react angrily to your boss because the boss will sack you. You know, so
Yeah,
obviously you will
yeah. So there's
suppress that.
manipulation part is there, because
There's a
it's like
huge
you're just taking care of the situation with your mind, like, oh, the control this, that, like, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, but on the other hand, one might argue, okay, I manipulated it and I didn't react with anger, considering that it might lead to a kind of a explosion, like it will lead to an altercation, it will lead to, some kind of debate, arguments, and people will fall out. There could be another argument like that. But again,
Yeah.
that is an assumption that you are manipulating again. It's an assumption that I have that this might lead to something, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
My question is
Yeah.
that you might get angry, but you will not react thinking that this will lead to one after the other.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then again, it is suppression. It is manipulation.
It is suppression. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, like, honestly speaking, there were times there could be, it's like, I don't know how I would act until that moment just present itself. So there could be moments where I wouldn't be angry for a place. Let's say I experienced that energy, yet I would release that in a more different way. For example, like I have shared one, like I remember one, I was like having a discussion with someone, like a client, and this man, I could like literally recognize a lot of violence within him, in like his belly area, like like a lot of anger in him, so and what I suggested him is just go like punching back,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
go there and just release the anger, because do not carry this within you, which is not, because then that anger can go into everything that you do. You just close the door, and there's the closing the door. I can literally, since there's anger in that particular small activity, someone wouldn't even recognize it. I can very clearly, if you're a very sensitive person, you could see there was something more than there, like they're closing door. There's some anger in that activity. So it spreads around the whole day. Like you might talking to your wife, and then you're talking with anger, like, and then she didn't even say. I mean, do you see that the anger now, whatever suppressed, is now just spreading around everywhere? Yeah. Which I asked him to go and just punching bag would, which will be released that same anger in a more productive way. There are other ways that I tell my clients, like, I mean, according to the situation, it just depends on the person to person and what they are going through at the time. That's what the coaching does, like, which is like there's a lot of general information out there, but like when it comes to coaching, I'm giving that to Dr. Vipula. Like if, let's say, I work with you, it's just specific to you and at that particular time. Yeah.
Well, yes, I think that's the response. There is also, I'm asking you about this metta or maitri,
Yeah.
or what we call loving kindness. Now, this awakening may also, because it's a recognition that everything is one. So this recognition that this one consciousness can also generate so much of loving kindness towards whatever that you are dealing with, there is something underneath metta. Is that your experience?
Yeah. So, doctor, well, like I could say that recognition, like that is what like, and I would suggest, yes, I would suggest people to like this is what I'm suggesting people, like if it doesn't come naturally, do not make it in an effortful way. You know, I have seen that people trying, and I in fact trying to do this on my own, like in the past, which was I felt so artificial, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so what I would suggest people is do not, if you don't feel that, I mean, that's not your truth, you know, let's be honest. Yeah. So recognizing that and it happens naturally to you is something completely different, you know. And yes, like after that shift, that recognition is always there, like the other person is myself. This doesn't mean to say that you didn't like caught up with your identification. There were times like which you could get still. I remember even after I had moments where I got re-identified with like for a few moments, and then I come back seeing the truth and the reality. Yeah.
So wherever there is a manipulation, wherever there is an effort against the natural reaction, is
Nature,
where the
exactly.
mind comes in, right? That is where the
Yes.
mind comes. That is where the mind is playing with.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I said, like, doctor, is that your truth? You know, someone could be doing the metta, like even the meditation the whole day, but and then is that your real truth? You know, that's the good question to ask. Like sometimes that's not your real truth at the time. Like honestly speaking, like I was someone who had to go through some sort of a narcissistic emotional abuse in my past. And when I recognized that harm that they've done, like after some years after, I was not having compassion. Let me be very honest. I had real anger. I was like, my goodness, these people just, oh my God, you know, like you don't feel so much compassion at the time. And that was my truth. You know, like at the time, I had real anger. Let me be very honest. And but yet after, I recognized that, my goodness, those narcissistic people supposed to be in my life. They're supposed to emotionally abuse me just like the way they did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have required pain or the suffering in order for me to come where I am right now. You know, and then I felt so much gratitude. These are the very people that who guided me into that place, which becomes the compassion, but it's in a different way. You get what I'm saying? Now it's with a different understanding and different elevated understanding, but that wasn't the case. Like the immediate my like a reaction was like definitely at the time when I was, it wasn't fun, you know. So and you try to like do the metta and okay, yeah, and that is so not of your truth. Let's be honest, you know, that's not your truth. So
In other words, an awakened person will have a different perspective. In other words, that awakened person, how he or she reacts is one thing, but uh, the for the awakened person, the way he or she perceives good and bad and right and wrong would be completely different. It's not kind of a socially defined framework.
yeah,
The awakened person sees it differently. What is
yeah,
right and what is wrong, and what is good and what is bad.
yeah,
So if you can say something about it now, say for example, we might see someone, you know, getting drunk, you know, every day and then abusing people. And then if you have a better understanding, it is the
Yeah.
circumstances and
Yeah.
the conditioning and the people whom he have associated, and the people, how he was brought up, the million things that are associated with his current habit. Now, if that is seen, uh, leave alone the counseling part, giving, attempting to pull him out, but that understanding, that recognition that it's not him who is responsible, it's
Yeah. It's just he's getting that energy just take him over. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then there is more kind of a compassion towards such a person, rather than branding. He's a
Yeah.
bad person, he gets
Yeah.
drunk every day. And so that recognition is little different to, straight away, than dumping him as a person who is not to be taken into the society.
Yeah. So, doctor, yeah, with what you have shared, like in places like that, when I see someone just acting in a very abusive way, let me go to the example that I even took with the narcissistic person. Like I've shared about the narcissistic
Yeah.
abuse that I went through and how much anger that I had. Yet when I went very deeper with the narcissistic personality, I recognized that the amount of pain that they have had to go through in their childhood is immense. Immense. That's the way they have understood this is how I could possibly survive in my life, you know. And that trauma and that pain that they had to go through is what made that person now that suffering or the pain just spilling out onto other people. And that's where the problem is. So when you recognize that part, you have immediate compassion, and now it's coming from a different way, not trying to artificially, oh yeah, love, okay, yeah, like not in that aspect. At the same time, you took the example of the alcoholic, like a person who's just taking drinks. In times like that, before looking at the addiction, we need to ask why there's pain. This person, the reason why it's not that they are not aware that the alcohol, what that does to their body. Even I have seen one time, like not one time, cigarettes, they have in the cover packet, like everything what that is being done to your body. So they already aware about these things. Yet, you know, yet what is happening with that person is that there's not a person who is there to listen, compassionately listen to what they are going through, what's their pain, like these people are not having fun. That's not what they choose to do. It's just happening out of their pain, it's just happening out of their pain. And that is why they go for this alcohol, and then it just takes over, and then they start acting and in this unconscious behaviors, and I could go on taking examples. Like I remember I was watching this movie about a prostitute, actually, and this story, when I go back, like when I was like watching this whole story about her life, and she was not going to that prostitution willingly. She was forced to go there. And when you look at that her story, it's incredible. I even shared with my clients because I wanted to give a different perspective. And then my client shared, oh my God, this is completely different than how I thought. Like and it was not her choice, And then you have immediate, like you can see that understanding is there. Oh my God, this person is not doing it like willingly, or it just happened to have that situation. Yes, that was a movie, but this is the case with every person. Like most of the people, it's not that they are going it like, like they have a story behind it, like let me tell you, I mean, this is because someone could argue, oh, that's a story, so I would like to take one true story. Like, I remember one time I was watching this a documentary. This is a true story, by the way. And then I was this man, he's in the jail and he's sharing his story. What he does is he go like he go and he just rape the person and then kill, like in a way which is very, very destructive, you know. And I was just watching and then looking at all this. There's murder case after murder case after murder case, like, and then I was like, okay, show me what has happened to him in the childhood. I was just, when I was watching that, I was so curious what really has happened and in his childhood, because I realized this is not coming out of this is 100% coming out of some trauma that he had to go through in his life. And then when I really saw it, like, and then they started sharing what really happened, because there was a incident that a murderer was hypnotized by a therapist, and he goes back to his childhood. What was happening was his mother, I mean, I can't go into detail because it's just way too horrifying, so I'm not going to share it. Like, his mother was sexually abusing this small kid when he was a kid, and and that is the anger which he had towards the, like, that was the first relationship, like with a woman, like your mother is the first relationship you have with a woman, and then the first relationship is so not like imbalance, and you have nothing but anger towards the woman, and that anger is what represent in his adult life, and then just go on to like doing all these destructive things in his life. Yeah.
That's I think a nice way to kind of describe uh, using this anger and how how to deal with anger and the circumstances that is surrounding the so-called anger. Now, I think we have a lot to learn from you, because it's not necessarily this anger is one aspect. When you are dealing in a corporate,
Yes.
but then there is stress, then there are worries, then there are anxieties, then there is it's so what I'm suggesting is, Dilmi, now initially we started with your awakening, and then we discuss spirituality, then we discuss how life can be seen as a dream, and now we are getting into the real hardball games, now how to deal with this day to day. That is what matters to particularly the Gen Zs, or even for the people who are running corporates. So we will from now on take up these issues, and then we'll try to elaborate from different perspectives, from awakened person's point of view. So one last line, Dilmi, to conclude today's session.
Yes, to be very honest, like what I would suggest people is, do not get caught up with how the realized person would view the world, because that is completely I mean, yes, there could be some benefit knowing that. Yet what I would suggest is people to like get more focused on your experience, like this is about you. What is your truth? What your experience is what matters. Who you are is what matters, Do not get caught up with how these people who view the world, how this realized awakened person's world of view, because at the end, what matters is how you view the world, what's your truth, where you are standing. And so I just want to conclude that, like, with that, yeah.
Okay, great. Great discussion. And thank you very much, Dilmi. We will continue with our sessions in the future, which I'm sure will benefit the viewers as we go on. And until next week, thank you again, Dilmi, and thank you very much to our audience as well.
Thank you, Doctor.